In 2024, Indonesia released a new horror movie called Gui Wu Village. The story is full of curses and terrifying mysteries. As soon as it came out, it earned $48 million at the box office and topped the charts. The movie has a strong folk culture vibe mixed with a creepy atmosphere, making it one of the scariest movies of the year. Grab your friends and watch it together. The story begins with Mira's mother suddenly falling very sick. She becomes paralyzed on her bed and cannot speak. Her body is covered in red bumps, and black blood flows from the corners of her mouth. Even the doctors cannot find out what is wrong. The family's servants call a shaman to help. The shaman immediately sees that Mira's mother has been cursed. He points to a cabinet in the house, and inside it, there is a mysterious wooden box. In the box lies a beautifully made golden bracelet. The shaman tells Mira that this bracelet originally belonged to the guardian of Gui Wu Village, but her mother stole it, which is why she is now being punished. To cure her mother, Mira must personally return the bracelet. What Mira doesn't know is that the bracelet's owner is not a guardian, but a dancing female spirit. This spirit has always ruled Gui Wu Village and demands a yearly sacrifice. She chooses 7 girls every year to serve as her slaves. 25 years ago, Mira's mother was unfortunately chosen by the spirit, but Mira's grandmother, trying to save her daughter, stole the bracelet along with the village shaman. From that day on, the village no longer had to make sacrifices to the spirit. Unfortunately, when Mira's mother reached the village entrance, she met the spirit. Although the spirit's power was greatly reduced and could not stop her, it still cursed her. Unaware of this, Mira puts on the bracelet to save her mother and heads to Gui Wu Village with her friends. When they arrive, they find that the village is exactly as the rumors said. Every household loves dancing, and surprisingly, the villagers are not hostile at all. Mira finds a girl named Lati and asks her how to return the bracelet to the guardian. But Lati is around the same age as Mira and doesn't know about the spirit legend either. She tells Mira that perhaps the village shaman knows the identity of the guardian. However, the shaman is away at the moment and no one knows when he will return. Mira doesn't want to go back empty-handed, so she decides to stay and wait for the shaman. That night, Mira stays at Lati's house. The 3 boys can only stay at the village outpost. That night, some people dressed in strange clothes arrive at the village entrance. Wherever they pass, all lights go out automatically, including the oil lamp in the outpost. Yuta tries to shake the lampshade, but the lamp seems to be working against him, only giving a tiny flame. Suddenly, a ghost slowly approaches. As it moves to attack Yuta, the oil lamp suddenly lights up fully, and the ghost disappears. Meanwhile, Mira cannot sleep because she worries about her mother. She gets up and goes to the living room to drink water. Then, she hears faint singing coming from Lati's mother's room. Curious, Mira leans near the door to listen carefully. Suddenly, the room door opens on its own. A woman covered in yellow veil stares at Mira with a meaningful gaze. The next second, the door slams shut automatically, and the mysterious woman disappears. At this point, Mira doesn't realize that this woman was the owner of the bracelet. The next morning, Mira is shocked to discover that Lati's mother has fallen seriously ill, and her symptoms are exactly the same as Mira's mother. Mira then told Lati about her mother being cursed. After hearing this, Lati was scared, but felt helpless. She could only hope that the village shaman would return soon to remove the curse. After a little while, kind-hearted Lati noticed that Mira was not comfortable living in a village full of mosquitoes, so she took Mira to the village bathhouse to wash. Mira never expected that this old, broken village would have a luxurious swimming pool, but Lati told her that the shaman does not allow villagers to bathe in the pool. They can only use the nearby showers. As Mira was about to bathe, she heard a familiar singing voice behind her. At first, Mira thought it was Lati singing, but when she looked through the gap, she saw Lati standing there completely still. At the same time, Mira did not notice a water snake slithering behind her. The atmosphere felt strange. Mira quickly finished bathing and planned to tell Lati to leave, but she found out that Lati was ignoring the rule and bathing in the pool, and even invited Mira to join. At that moment, Mira felt as if some magical force was pulling her, and she walked into the pool without control. Then, Lati sang while approaching Mira, but as she moved to Mira's other side, she suddenly transformed into the dancing demon woman. She leaned close to Mira's ear, and in a tempting voice asked her to give back the bracelet. Mira finally realized what was happening, but when she turned around, the demon woman had already disappeared. At some point, the pool had already been filled with water snakes. Then a group of snakes tried to drag her underwater. Luckily, the real Lati arrived in time and rescued Mira from the water. The pool returned to being clear and clean, without any snakes in sight. After hearing that the bracelet's owner wanted it back, Lati decided not to wait for the shaman anymore. She took Mira herself to the forbidden area in the back mountains. mountain. Soon, they saw a group of people constantly dancing. Even Lottie was surprised because she had grown up in the village and did not know that there was a tribe in the back mountain. Before long, the demon woman came dancing seductively in front of them. It turned out that these people were slaves raised by the demon woman. The demon woman gracefully extended her long arms toward Mira. Mira understood that this was a signal to give the bracelet. Although she was scared, she mustered courage and asked the demon woman, "If I return the bracelet, will our mother be freed from the curse?" The demon woman looked displeased. Seeing the slaves surrounding them, Mira had no choice but to hand over the bracelet obediently. The demon woman was very pleased and said that everything was under her control because from the beginning, she had planned to test Mira in Gwiwu village. After hearing the demon woman's story, Mira realized that the shaman her family had called was already under the demon woman's control. Everything Mira had done these past few days was part of the demon woman's plan. Even meeting tonight was orchestrated by the demon woman. Mira was shocked and looked at Laddie beside her. She never expected that Laddie could betray her and cooperate with the demon woman. In fact, the singing Mira heard while bathing earlier in the day was real because the demon woman was hypnotizing Laddie, threatening her mother's life. So Laddie would bring Mira and the bracelet to the demon woman that night. When Mira learned that Laddie had done it to save her mother, kind-hearted Mira decided to forgive Laddie. The two girls then left the demon woman's lair, but when they returned home, they discovered that the demon woman had tricked them. Laddie's mother had not improved. In fact, her condition became even worse. Seeing this, Mira became worried for her own mother because her mother was the one who originally took the bracelet. She planned to leave the village that night and return home immediately. Unexpectedly, heavy rain started falling. On top of that, her friends tried to stop her. Mira had no choice but to stay one more night and leave only after the rain stopped the next day. But that night, Mira heard her mother calling her. She immediately jumped out of bed and ran to the living room. To her surprise, she was hugged by Lattie's mother. It turned out the woman in front of her was possessed by Mira's mother. She warned Mira again not to try to save herself and not to agree to the demon's conditions. The next second, Lottie's mother suddenly started convulsing and fell backward onto the table. The loud noise woke everyone in the house. Then, Lottie's mother suddenly stood up straight, but her expression was unusual and her movements were weird and possessed. It was clear that she was now under the demon's control. As soon as the demon's shadow landed, Lottie's mother fell to the ground again. She started tearing at her infected skin like a mad person. Soon she passed out because she couldn't bear the pain anymore. At the same time, an old man dressed in black with a black hat entered. Lottie immediately recognized him as the missing shaman who had been gone for several days. The shaman explained that he had been treating Mira's mother at her home these past few days. But by the time he arrived, Mira's mother was already in critical condition, and even he couldn't help. Now, the demon had regained the bracelet, and her power had increased. Mira and the others were no match for her. The next morning, villagers discovered that all the livestock had been drained of blood. Most of the crops in the fields had wilted, and even the swimming pool water had dried up. The pool was now crawling with all kinds of water snakes. The shaman instinctively looked to the side and saw that the demon was watching them proudly. He knew the demon was showing off her power. If the villagers didn't select girls for her, the village would face disaster. So the shaman took a pot of bitter coffee and performed a ritual. Anyone who could taste sweetness would become a candidate to serve the demon. To everyone's surprise, both Mira and Lottie were among the 7 candidates. Then, following the shaman's instructions, the girls washed themselves with spring water to cleanse their bodies. They went to the hall at the back of the mountain. Each girl put a leaf in her mouth. As the shaman played music, the girls started dancing uncontrollably. But the next moment, Mira was terrified to find that her soul had entered the demon's territory and was still dancing endlessly. Soon, the other 5 girls fell one by one, clearly eliminated by the demon. In the hall, only Mira and Lottie remained dancing. They danced from morning to evening without showing any sign of stopping. Even the shaman was confused. The demon had initially demanded the sacrifice, so why was she not accepting the candidates? The demon realized that kind Mira was willing to sacrifice herself for the villagers, but deep down, she didn't want to stay there. Mira still wanted to return to her mother. The demon noticed this and decided to make Mira and her new friend dance from dawn to dusk to break their willpower. But the demon didn't expect that Mira could break the barrier she set and return her soul to her body. Unfortunately, the next second, her soul was forcibly dragged back by the demon. The shaman, worried that the 2 girls might exhaust themselves to death, decided decided to cover their heads with a fruit cloth. Their souls vanished instantly in front of the witch, but this action angered the witch and her slaves. The witch immediately sent her slaves to bring the girls back. Seeing this, the wizard quickly carried Mira and Lottie's bodies back home and arranged for others to sprinkle salt around to protect against magic. But no one knew that while Mira was unconscious, she had again come to the witch's territory. This time, she was not in the dance hall, but in a dark and damp cave. While looking for an exit, she encountered a group of women covered with fruit cloth, just like her, and a few little girls whose faces had only mouths left. They tried to surround Mira and make her stay and play with them. At that moment, Mira got scared and kept moving back. She slipped and fell to the ground. When she stood up, she found herself completely surrounded by dancers. The dancers took Mira to an open area and, under the witch's command, began dancing around her. To make Mira submit, the witch used magic to turn her mother into a dancer and promised that if Mira agreed to stay, she could reunite with her mother. But Mira did not want to make any promises to the witch. Her heart was only with her mother. When she tried to run to her mother, neither of them gave up. They even created a miracle. The bond of love between mother and daughter was strong enough to break the witch's spell and transported them to a sealed space. At that moment, Mira held her mother tightly. As the only person to escape from Ghost Dance Village, her mother knew the terror of the witch and kept reminding her daughter never to follow the witch's commands and stay away. The next second, they returned to the hall full of dancers. Mira then realized that Lottie and her mother had already become the witch's dancers, but she saw no joy on Lottie's face. Seeing Mira still refusing, the witch used magic to break her mother's fingers one by one to threaten Mira to stay. Meanwhile, the wizard, seeing that they had not returned their souls yet, went back inside alone. Soon, there were dog barking sounds in the room. The wizard had transformed into a demon-hunting dog, entered the witch's territory, and with the help of Mira's mother's soul, he brought Mira's soul back and stole the bracelet again. Unfortunately, Lottie and her mother had agreed to become the witch's slaves and died on the spot. The next morning, the wizard gave the bracelet to Mira and warned her never to return. As the second girl to escape the witch's territory, the wizard believed that the witch, having lost the bracelet, could no longer curse Mira or threaten the villagers to give sacrifices. After Mira left, the villagers of Ghost Dance Village buried Lottie and her mother. Mira said, "Why did you do this? I was very scared, but I am extremely grateful because no one would have sacrificed for me." And that's it for today's story. See you in the next episode.